seems like there's something new every day talking about how a foreign company is trying to swindle or trick Japan out of its great culture, its wealth, and its sovereignty. And I think this is a situation we're seeing with BlackRock and so much other organizations out there, because we've been seeing it these past few years, where whether it comes down to Visa and the recent controversy, where they have payment processors trying to bully Japan into restricting what content they produce, or it's BlackRock, a gigantic investment company, trying to change the overall cultural identity of Japan by making its content more in line with the Western standard of diversity, equity, inclusion. And you can see this all the way down to the historians at its colleges, foreigners coming in, making up fake history to support their claims about diverse cultures in Japan. And this is the result of a concerted effort to tear down Japan in general. And I think this is the thing that we're seeing play out right now with some of the recent controversies, even when it comes down to the collective shout in the organizations that are campaigning for restriction of access of gaming, restriction of what games can be placed on Steam. It comes down to a politics of control that extends out to controlling gaming itself. But here specifically, I want to talk about Japan itself, because it seems to be the focus of most of these attacks. And I think it all comes down to the organizations that are looking to profit and, more than anything, gain control of a country that still has a trace of its independence, even though it's been a vassal country for the first developed world of America. And I think because it still has most of its cultural relevance there, where people still identify within Japan with Japanese culture. And I think that independence is seen as a threat to a lot of the actors that are trying to buy up Japan and threaten it. And I think this is what we're seeing right now with BlackRock. If you don't know what BlackRock is one of the biggest investment firms out there. It's known as the shadow bank, or even the fourth branch of the government to a lot of politicians, because it has that much money, over $10 trillion of investment money, at least coming from pensioners and many other aspects. But it has over $11 trillion of a lot of people's money, and it has controlling power to invest that money. And BlackRock's power comes from that ownership of those stocks, where you can see large swaths of the entertainment industry in Japan actually owned partly by BlackRock. You can see this from Sony, Nintendo, Bandai Namco, Square Enix, Capcom. For instance, BlackRock and Vanguard together are the major shareholders in nearly every big Japanese video company out there. This isn't passive investing, it's leverage. If a company doesn't align with BlackRock's priorities, they can vote shares, file proposals, and even threaten to divest, imploding the stock prices and impacting board decisions when they do stuff like that. This is the true controlling power that BlackRock and these companies, Vanguard, who usually work in tandem together because they have the same goal in mind, and this influence of manipulating and changing the countries that they invest in. And I think that is the thing that we get from articles that have come out recently about how BlackRock is heavily interested in Japan itself and changing the culture, changing the environment, and changing the patterns of Japanese people. And I think this is the thing that we're seeing play out here with the Visa situation. We're seeing a small part of a bigger puzzle right here. And that's why I say some of the things that we're seeing about collective shout and all the activist organizations, I think they're just small tools to these gigantic partners, which are usually governmental or big investment firms or banks. And I think that's what we're seeing with BlackRock right now, where Japan is one of the prime investment vehicles and under consideration for a state of change from a lot of the elements outside of its country. And I think that's the main goal for BlackRock. If you don't know BlackRock, what its goals are here in America, most of the things it's been doing have affected gaming already. It has supported what we've seen with ESG, DEI, environmental social governance criteria. It was literally made by BlackRock. They pioneered DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. These standards, they kind of set the standards and ideals that a lot of companies followed afterwards. And I think that is the thing that we're seeing right now, these pushes within all these activist organizations, even with Japan right now, are following those standards that BlackRock has laid out in the past 10 years. And I think this is a grand strategy we have seen imposed in gaming. We're seeing it imposed in manga as BlackRock and some other financial stones, its parent company, Blackstone, which is one of the companies that invested in BlackRock initially, purchasing some of the biggest manga production firms out there, investing over $1.7 billion in Japanese e-manga site Mecha Comics. And this is just a reflection of what we've been seeing in the gaming industry in Japan, stretched out to every industry in Japan, where they're trying to buy out, influence, bully different aspects of Japan, where they can kind of strip away the identity, sovereignty, and overall autonomy of Japan, because Japan ideally has a lot of autonomy still, even in this gigantic international global order that is being established right now. And I think that is the thing that we're seeing play out right now with all these entities, including Visa and payment processors, that are out there bullying Japan to follow its certain parameters when it comes to indecency, where they're saying we have to protect our brand, so we're going to bully these organizations that do not follow our political standards. And I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of the aspects within Japan right now, where they're being bullied on all fronts. And you can see this with Visa Japan CEO saying we're disabling card payment systems for legal adult content. It's legal in your country, but we don't respect your laws. You have to follow our standards. And that's what we're seeing from BlackRock, where they're saying we don't respect your cultural standards. You have to follow the DEI training that we have, or we won't invest, or we'll pull out our investment and simply attack your company. We'll short your stock. We'll pummel you to the ground until we can buy more stocks, where we can have more buying power and saying power in your company. I think this is the reflection that we're seeing back in the video gaming industry, where there's this bullying wave that's happening that a lot of people are trying to do to Japan. They're trying to strip Japan of its personal cultural identity. We see this with a bunch of historical documents coming from foreign PhD advisors coming out, trying to obscure and change Japanese history to be in line with their DEI philosophies. And I think this is in line with what we've been seeing consistently all throughout the Americas, all throughout Europe, where there's been a forced alignment to the standard of ESG, DEI, focus on global diversity rather than personal national identity. And I think this is the focus that is being implemented on Japan right now. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing with the situations that we're seeing in gaming, where gaming is having this push as well. And this gaming is just a small microcosm of everything that is happening to the country itself. And that's why we see the UN pushing for limiting what type of manga and anime you can make. You see them pushing for massive immigration, where they can change the entire population of Japan. There's a push to remove cultural identity from a lot of the aspects within society. And I think this is reflective of what we're seeing in the gaming industry, and a push to end the identity that we as gamers so love and identify with. We like Japanese culture because it's Japanese, it's not American. We like the creations from there because it's coming from a different ideology, a different frame of reference. And I think what we're seeing from these gigantic investment firms, these gigantic payment processors, we're seeing a forced alignment to an ideology that is alien to multiple cultures, that really is the multicultural philosophy that leaves everyone with no cultural identity of their own. And I think this is the situation that we're seeing right now. Global puppets trying to string together a global order of change within society, and it's happening through gaming, and it's happening to Japan currently, and it's ruining our experiences more than anything. And I think that's the thing that I feel when I see these situations, where I'm like, I don't want to see this happen in Japan. We have all these gigantic organizations pulling at Japan, trying to make it into something it really doesn't want to be. But I think Japan itself is fighting back. We see Japan place antitrust laws against Visa, trying to restrict some of the things they're doing to bully out other payment processors, where they can be the only payment processor in Japan. And I think that is a step in the right direction. We see elections in Japan moving away from the global multiculturalism aspect that is being imposed on them by the current BlackRock-supported prime minister. And I think that's the thing that we keep seeing. BlackRock is supporting a lot of elements that are changing the culture of Japan into being something the antithesis of Japan, that is trying to remove away all the fun aspects and censor and misalign the things that we love about the culture that is out there. And I think this is where we have that sneaking suspicion that something bad is happening. And I think it all goes down to the people surrounding Japan right now. It's Visa, MasterCard, BlackRock, it's the NGOs, it's the UN. Everyone's coming after them. And there must be something valuable about Japan. And I think it's just them having their own culture and independence with that culture. And I think culture matters now. It seems like a lot of the people that are attacking the things that we love really hate independent cultures. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing bear out right now. But maybe I'm just talking crazy. This is just something I was thinking about after I saw some of the questions around Collective Shout and all these other organizations trying to restrict and ban games. And I looked at Japan. I'm like, Japan was dealing with this for a whole year before Collective Shout got Visa the excuse to ban a bunch of these games. And I think this is part and parcel of a bigger thing that we're seeing in the industry, where there is a dynamic effort to restrict, to ban. And I think it's somewhat coordinated. And I think these attacks are coming from organizations that have a vision for the future of gaming, and that future doesn't include having fun playing games. It includes indoctrination, it includes multiculturalism, it includes having no identity of your own. And I think that is a thing that we're seeing currently in a lot of video games that have come out. No identity, and more than anything, apologies for ever having a culture at all. And I think that's a situation we hate to see in any culture, in any society. We like seeing people actually embrace the culture that they're from and saying they love it and hoping to share it with you, and you respecting it as they do. And I think that's the thing I want to see from Japan. Not a mirror image of American values or European values, but that's just me. Maybe you guys disagree with me. Maybe you want Japan to be like America. You want Japan to have Kardashian syndrome and all that. Maybe that's what you want. I don't want it. I want Japan to be Japan, but you tell me what you think. Maybe I'm crazy. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.